In case you missed the last video, I am doing a series where I rank various aspects of Undertale from my least favorite to my favorite. Last time I covered all of the bosses and mini-bosses, and today I will be doing the 5 major areas in the game. Since there is only 5, I should be able to go pretty in-depth for each one, taking into account aesthetics, world building, story beats, character interactions, and basically anything else I think of along the way. Also, just to clarify, I will not be ranking any of the game's sub-areas like the core separately, but those sub-areas will factor into the ranking of the larger area that they're found in. So with that, let's get started. Hello?
How's the search going? Have your army of viewers found anything yet?
Yeah, about that. That last video actually hasn't been doing super well.
What? How many views does it have?
I mean, it's doing better than the Kingdom Hearts ones, but still no comments from anyone willing to help us with the search.
You said this would work!
Fuzzy, this was 100% your idea.
What about Crab and the others? Have they found anything?
Well, from what I've heard... Alright, the hunt for Junior Corn Popo, Lord Tiny, and Dummy begins! But why though? I don't know. Sounds fun. Does it though?
I kind of think it does. I mean, when was the last time we did something exciting?
Fine. Where's Fuzzy, though?
He went back through the portal to keep looking over there.
Oh. Maybe I should go find him and help him look.
So, where do we start?
Left.
So do we just follow him?
I don't see why not.
I do.
Shush.
Water and water and water, water. You may have just noticed that I didn't use the audio clip transition thing that I usually use for last place, and that's because these bottom 3 are actually so close together in quality for me that it didn't feel fair to label any of them as not good, even as a joke. To figure out how I was going to order these, I ultimately had to decide whether to rank them on how I feel about them now, or my first impressions of them back when I first discovered Undertale. You might think it would make more sense to do it based on my current feelings, but that would have made this a much more boring video. So in the end, based on my initial feelings, the clear last place is Waterfall. I remember watching a Let's Play back in the day, I don't remember whose it was, but when they returned to Waterfall during their second playthrough, they were like, I don't even remember what happened here. And I remember thinking, you know what, that's kind of fair. Looking back on it, it kind of feels like not a whole lot happens in Waterfall besides your encounters with Undyne and Monster Kid, even though that's not entirely true. As I was writing this section, I kept remembering more and more stuff that happened here. There's some fun interactions with Sans and Papyrus, a few pretty easy puzzles, I guess, the human-monster war lore dump, the Mad Dummy fight, meeting Napstablook again, and Temmie Village. And all of that stuff is great. The tranquil vibes of Waterfall are also really good too. But the problem when ranking this as a full area is that a lot of the stuff that happens here in some ways feels like it could have happened in either Snowdin or Hotland instead without much consequence. I mean, sure, I guess it makes sense for Blook Family Acres to be in a temperate area and for a place full of trash from the surface to be at the bottom of a waterfall, but ultimately, are a garbage dump and a snail farm really that important to the world building? I mean, they do add some really cool flavor text that I'm glad is there, but again, that doesn't really have anything to do with the area itself, at least not in the same sense that the cold of Snowdin helps explain why the ruins are so inaccessible, and the heat in Hotland is how the monsters get their electricity, stuff like that. Waterfall just kinda ends up feeling like the area in between the two. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love all of the stuff with Undyne. She is one of my favorite characters in the game. We'll get to that in a later video. Her encounters plus the lore tablets about the war are what make me still really like watching new players go through this area nowadays, and what made me consider putting Waterfall a little higher. But the most memorable encounters with Undyne happen at the very beginning and very end of the area, and the ones in the middle, while intense, could very easily blend together in the mind of a new player, especially since she doesn't even say a word until a few screens before her boss fight. which works great for her character, but again, just doesn't help with the memorability of the area itself. In all, still a really fun area that's a blast to play through and to watch others experience. We have arrived!
You put that there, didn't you?
Let's start looking!
Okay, I guess we're doing this.
Well, what if we just didn't?
Well, what if I want to?
Well, that would be a bit Keanu of you.
What did you just call me?
A key! Yeah, I saw that coming. I mean, owie!
Hee hee!
Mom!
You always kinda expect things from earlier in the game to be lower in a ranking like this, and this video is no exception. But man, is the Ruins a great introduction to Undertale. Back when I first showed this game to some of my cousins, one of them only watched me play up until the Flowey subversion at the very beginning, and then was immediately like, alright, I'm not going to watch anymore, I'm sold, I am playing this game myself. It's just brilliant. That plus the dialogue at the end of the area that changes depending on your actions bookends the Ruins with two amazing encounters with the game's primary antagonist. But what about the rest of the area? Well, most of it is pretty simple. I mean, it is a tutorial after all. Or is it? Well, it does unavoidably have the job of teaching you the game's mechanics, but it also acts as a bit of a subversion/critique of traditional tutorials, with the aptly named Toriel literally holding your hand for a few puzzles. Which you would think might make for a confusing mess, but it actually works pretty well. The only thing that really bugs me is the fact that Toriel comments on whether or not you hurt the training dummy, but says nothing if you hurt or even kill the Frogget in the next room, which is the first enemy that gives you EXP, which means that if you kill it on accident, there is absolutely zero indication that you have just locked yourself out of the best ending, and also, even if you only kill this one frog and nothing else in the game, some dialogue from Flowey, Sans, and even Undyne, who shouldn't even be able to know if you killed anything in the Ruins, acts like you have killed several enemies instead of just the one. Whew, sorry for that tangent, but that's just one of the very few instances that Undertale's dialogue doesn't properly account for, and I know for a fact that it's kind of derailed a few people's blind playthroughs, and it bugs me. I honestly could make a whole video detailing what I would do to fix it, because I've definitely thought about it. Maybe someday. Anyway, everything else in the Ruins is pretty good. Regardless of your opinion on Toriel, her presence lets you know right off the bat that the characters are going to be this game's bread and butter. It also lets you know right away that it's going to have an awesome soundtrack. I guess I do find the encounter rate a little annoying, even more so than most of the other areas, but overall, the Ruins acts as a very good way to show new players what this game is all about. Well, no luck in that last place. Hopefully here will be better.
So do you really think Lord Tiny and Dummy did it?
Huh? I mean, yeah, who else could it be?
I'm still not even convinced she was kidnapped at all.
Yeah, and when we met them after they turned good, they seemed, well, good.
Well, you never met them at their worst. You have no idea what they're capable of.
And what might that be?
Well, oh yeah, they kidnapped all three of us once. And then we escaped. But it was only because of the might of my black eyes. So there's no way Junior Konpopo could get away on her own.
But can't she, you know...
Well, there doesn't look like there's anything here. Let's go.
It's cold!
What more is there even to say about Snowdin? I mean, probably a lot, but I couldn't think of how else to start this section. But it's Funny Skeleton Land, TM. Everybody loves Funny Skeleton Land, TM. Well, actually, recently when I watch blind Let's Plays, I, actually get a tiny bit bored of this area just because of how many times I've already seen the bros' antics, and I kind of just want to see how people react to the actual story of the game, which doesn't really get into full speed until Waterfall, so I was actually considering putting Snowdin into last place for a bit. But after thinking back to just how much Sans and Papyrus made me laugh for many, many times of experiencing this game, yeah, I think third place is a good spot for it. Besides that, Snowdin just feels a lot more lived in than the Ruins or Waterfall. There's the town, of course, which is very cozy and fun and kind of feels like a home base in some ways. But even outside of the town, you have things like the various encounters with the dogs of the Royal Guard, which are a real treat. Yeah, I didn't like that one either. But even the random encounters here, instead of just feeling like arbitrary residents of the biome like in the other areas, are for some reason all rebellious teens who are trying to do their own thing outside of the town, which just seems like such a random theme for an area's enemies, but somehow works. I haven't talked at all about the random encounters in the other areas, because I think it's really the ones here, even more so than in the ruins, that go a long way in showing new players that these monsters are being portrayed as actual residents of this world with their own lives. I mean, how cool is that? Okay, I'll stop now.
Black eyes. Black eyes. Black eyes. Black eyes. Black eyes. Oh, my black eyes hurt.
Hee hee!
Oh, why is that camera following us around? It's kind of creeping me out!
Oh, that's just one of the magical cameras that Fuzzy had the presidents make for him.
Oh, the magics, of course.
If it's Fuzzy's, then why do you have it?
I, borrowed it for reasons. Cinema.
What do you do with an area like New Home in a video like this? It's not really its own full area in the same sense that all the others are, but the story that happens here is just so good that I can't bring myself to put it low. So I guess second place will have to do. Because of the heavy focus on story, I actually don't have a lot to say about it for this video specifically, because most of it, or potentially even all of it, is stuff that I'm going to be covering in a later video in this series. And do you really need to hear me just list off every single thing that happens here and be like, that's good, and that's really good, and that's awesome? Like, you know all that stuff already. I think the number 2 spot speaks for itself.
Still nothing. Hey, Crab, have you heard anything about how the search is going for Phil's viewers?
Oh, yes, it is not going.
Oh, man.
Aha! So you do care!
No, what? I mean, I just wanted other people to do more of the work so we don't have to.
Uh-huh.
No one's even looked for the hidden things that I've been putting in the videos.
What hidden things?
While I was editing the last 2 ranking videos, I hid things that I don't want to spoil what they are, that I thought would help people with the search, but I don't think anyone's found them yet.
Oh, shoot.
But I'm still going to keep putting them in because it's fun.
Hopefully at least someone watching will agree.
I'm sure someone will come along eventually, but for now, we keep looking.
And coming in at number 1, it's...
On its own, Hotland probably would not have beaten out New Home. But remember how I said that sub-areas would be included within the larger area that they take place? Well, turns out that Undertale really only has 2 of them, and they're both in Hotland, and they're both really good. I mean, Hotland on its own is already pretty good. The soundtrack brings the excellent vibes, the puzzles are actually pretty fun and even a bit challenging for new players. The Metaton encounters are always a good time, Muffet is a really fun mini-boss, and the NPCs you encounter make it feel decently lived in despite you never actually seeing any residential areas. But on the other hand, the constant interruptions from Alphys, while somewhat endearing, are somewhat annoying too, and most of the random encounters aren't nearly as memorable as a lot of the ones in Snowdin or even Waterfall. But when you add the core and true lab into the mix, yeah, I think Hotland becomes a clear number 1. So much so that maybe not making them into their own entries was a little unfair. Oh well, it's too late to change it now, so I guess I'll just say that if I had ranked them separately, the list would have been Waterfall, Ruins, Hotland, Core, Snowdin, True Lab, New Home. But I suppose I should briefly touch on why each of them are so good. First, the Core. That one probably comes down to having the best vibes of any area in the game with a cool aesthetic and awesome soundtrack. But it's still relatively short, which is why I would have still ranked it below Snowdin. As for the True Lab, Well, if you know anything about my channel, you know that I love lore, and this place is stuffed so full of it that most of the biggest mysteries and theories from this game center around it in some way. The creepy vibes that are just so different from anything else in the game are just the cherry on top of that. Not enough on its own to put it above the emotional roller coaster that is everything that happens in New Home on either route, but when combined with Hotland and the core, you get what is easily my favorite area in Undertale.
Hey, don't you think we could, like, maybe ask other people that we know to help us?
Like who? Hello, I am Konya Biag.
Yes, we know. Go away. We're doing important things.
Hey, maybe he could help us.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
Shouldn't we at least try and ask him?
I mean, sure, by all means, try.
Hey, hey, do you know where Junior Corn Popo is?
Yeah.
See, I told you.
Mm.
So, where is she? Can you, show us where she is?
No.
Well, no, they have not.
Gah! Couldn't you let us put a message out in one of your bigger videos or something?
The deal was you can be in the ranking videos and that's it.
Come on, you're one of the presidents. Don't you care, you key?
How dare you?
Because you are one.
No, I'm a me, and yeah, of course I care, and I'm doing everything I can to help. Besides, you guys were just fine without an active president during the year that both me and my sister were in college. I'm sure you could find them even without my help.
You're darn right we could. And we hecking will. Just you watch.
Well, I guess I'll just do my outro now. So, there was my ranking of all of the major areas in Undertale. Next up, I will be ranking my favorite characters in the game, probably as like a top 10 or top 15 or something. I haven't decided exactly what I want to do for that yet, but if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, check out all my links in the description, and I will see you in my next Undertale ranking, or whichever video of mine you choose to watch next. Bye!
It's good, right? Someday someone will understand my genius.